Pull. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Target Focused Life. We got a good one today. I'm excited because I'm going to get better at sporting clays. And so will you if you apply what this guy has to say. 20-year professional sporting clay shooter and sporting clay champion. Lots of credentials. We'll get into that in just a minute, but stay tuned because it's going to be good. Ready? Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got with us today for this video, Travis Mears. Super stoked about this. Travis, I know you have a ton of experience when it comes to, well, all disciplines, but specifically sporting clays. Right. And that's one of my favorite things to shoot. I'm a pretty good shot, but I got a lot to learn. And I know you have a lot to teach me. And if the viewers watch and apply what you have to say, I think we got a really good video today that's going to help a lot of people.
Well, we're going to have fun for sure, and I know we'll break targets. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old, and 20 years at the professional level, and get to teach people on a daily basis. We're here at my range in Fort Worth, Texas. It's Defender Outdoors Clay Sports Ranch, and we're going to talk about 3 points today. We're going to talk about foot position and stance. We're going to talk about the really, really important hold points and break points, how to position for the target, and then we're also going to talk about how to move with the bird, okay? And those 3 things are going to make you a better shooter. We can all hit birds and clay targets, but can we hit them multiple times in a row?
Yeah.
And these are the things that make us consistent and improve scores, whether we're in the field or on the sporting clay course.
More consistently, better scores. That's what it's all about. So where are we starting?
Well, we're going to start right with our foot position and stance. Again, fairly basic, but extremely important in what we're going to do today. So when we set up our foot position, we're going to make ourselves comfortable, okay? And most importantly, we got to be comfortable at the break point, okay? The break point is where we're going to break the target. So once we see the targets and figure out where we want to break it, we're going to position our feet to where we've got a comfortable range of motion on both sides of that break point, okay? We want the break point to be in the middle of our comfort zone. So what I want you to do is close that gun, okay? That's your natural instinct to hold the gun in this position, right? Okay, so I want you to twist and tell me when you get tension in your left hip.
Well, there.
Okay, so go back to the other side. Do the same. So well, this is your comfortable range for your hips. Okay, now anytime that we go outside of that range, there's 2 things that can happen. Either the gun's going to stop and we're going to shoot behind the bird or the target, or your shoulder rolls and we miss offline.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we set up the shot, we're going to make sure that our break point is within that range.
And ideally, in the most neutral, but like if this is my neutral, there's one hard side, there's one hard side.
That's right. The place you like to hold your gun, whether you're in sporting clays or on a dove field or whatever the case might be, that's where we want to position the break point. For me, Steve, it's actually pretty easy to remember, and I see that you're doing it as well. You can take that gun and kind of drop it down. If you line up your right heel to your left toe and have a straight line, typically it's going to line up directly to that break point, which is the comfortable range of motion. We've got to stand in a way that we can handle the recoil and recover from the shot to prepare for the second shot. Okay, so what I want you to do is we're going to have about 60% of the weight on our front foot. Okay, and that's a little exaggerated. Let's go back just a little bit. And most importantly, you've got a little bend in your knee. Okay, the back knee's a little bend, front knee's a little more. And what that's going to do is going to allow you the ability to pivot, because we want to move the shotgun with our hips, not with our hands. And so that's going to give you the ability to pivot in an athletic position. Okay, so go ahead and mount the gun for me. So in this position, if I apply recoil to you, you handle it really well, right?
Right.
So the reason we lean forward is for us to be able to handle that and recover. Now what I want you to do is I want you to get back on your heels. Okay, now I'm going to apply that same recoil. Okay, so what happens?
I'd rock back more.
Quite a bit more movement, right? So if there's a second target or second bird in the air, it's going to be much more difficult for us to get to it, right?
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like if you're 50-50 and you're pivoting at your hips, you get a lot more dips and movement, where if I have a little bit more weight up front, that's my pivot.
That's right.
And I can swing more smoothly on it.
You're using your knee and your hips to move the gun.
Right.
And it's really important for us to do that, because when we move with our hips and with our knees, then we can move the gun smoothly. If I start to move the gun with my hands, what happens is they move too fast and they outpace the bird. So trying to get everything to move together is
so hands and hips actually moving together.
That's right.
Because I hear some people talk about you drive the gun with your forward hand, right? And what that in my brain says anyways is you're standing here and you're going like that.
Right.
But you're actually saying bringing hips into it.
So your hands are supporting the weight, your hips are moving the gun.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
That's how we're going to shoot today. It's going to be the smoothest way. Now, drive is a pretty aggressive word, right? That makes you think fast.
Especially the way I drive.
We're not going to drive. We're not going to drive the gun with the hands. We're going to drive the gun with our core and our hips. All right, Steve, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply what we just discussed. We're going to throw a report pair so the second target's coming after the first shot. We're going to lean in there, have that good position on your call.
Pull.
Nice and smooth, good shot. Okay, so how did the recovery after the first shot feel?
Easy.
Easy,
Yeah.
efficient, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to do it wrong this time, and I want you to see and feel the difference. This time I want you to be on your heels a little bit, okay? Leaning back.
I'll try my best.
Okay, I know, it's tough to do.
Pull.
Okay, so not only was there more movement after the first shot, but the recovery time was much, much slower getting to the second hold point. So that just really demonstrates how important it is to have just a little weight forward. There's been various times in my game where I got really aggressive out really far over my toes, okay? And that's too much. What happens when we get out here is we don't have the same mobility with our hips. And so there's that comfort range where we're just slightly forward with the upper body, slight bend in the knees, and that's what keeps us moving well with the target.
You mentioned setting up our stance with the break point, but we didn't really hit on break point. I know that's one of the other things you wanted to talk about today is our break point and our hold points. So how does that play in?
And so break points and hold points are something that we discuss and think about literally on every target on a competitive sporting clay course or skeet or trap or whatever the case might be. And the reason they're so important is because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create some consistency. When I have to shoot this pair on this particular station 4 times, I need to start and finish in the same place 4 times. The break point needs to be determined by where you see the target the best, okay?
Yeah.
And so where you see the target the best might be different than me or from a 80-year-old man that might be a little slower visually and physically, okay? And so where you see the target the best is going to be determined as the break point.
We're going to come up here, be able to see a target before we shoot, right?
That's right. That's right. So we pick that spot where you get to see detail on the bird. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to strategize on, okay, we know where the target's coming from. We know what it's doing. We've established where we want to break it. Let's look at this bird real quick and let's establish where you see the target the best.
So I'm going to say about right there.
Okay, so when you pick that spot, now what we're going to do is we're going to establish some landmarks here. And so what I do is it was right over the left limb of that mesquite tree and twice as high, right?
Yep.
Okay, so for the next 2 minutes while you're in the station, you know that's the break point.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's how we're going to remember it is using those landmarks. Then we're going to use what we talked about in our foot position and stance, and we're going to get the body set for that spot, okay? And now what we're going to go into next is the hold point. The hold point is where we start the gun, okay? We're not going to start at the break point because then we'd just be spot shooting. We're not going to start right back at the trap because then we'd have to chase. And so we'll put you through those scenarios in a second. But the hold point, and the purpose of the hold point is to start our gun in a position to where we can move efficiently with the bird in a consistent manner and finish at the break point. When we see these targets on the course, we're going to determine what kind of bird it is. So in your mind, what kind of bird is that? Is it a crosser, a quartering target, a teal, or what is it?
Well, I would say that's a crosser.
It's a crosser, okay? A crosser is anything that is from left to right, right to left, 90-degree angles. That's what we want to think. So when I come across a crosser on a sporting clay course, I've automatically got this rule of thumb in my mind that it's 50% back, okay? So the whole point's going to be halfway back from the break point to the first place I can visually see the bird.
Right, so I got my break point here, clay's coming there. You're talking coming that line back 50%.
We're going to come halfway down the line.
Right.
And the line is really important. The line, when I describe the line, I want you to visualize a rope that goes from the clay target machine to the break point. Okay, and we're going to use that line as a guide, and we're going to bring the gun halfway down that line.
Yeah,
okay, it's really important for us to be in the line. The whole point, okay, is halfway back on this crosser, but what I want you to consider is in this scenario, we can see the clay target. So what we call the focal point is where we can first see the bird. The focal point's actually going to be right on the front of the trap, where the target's coming from. Now, let's say I put a tree there. Okay, a tree is in front of the trap now. The first place you can see the bird is when it exits the tree. So then in that scenario, the focal point where we can first see the target is going to be on the edge of the tree, okay?
Focal point. So we're actually separating our eyes from the muzzle of the gun. We got our hold point.
That's right.
That's where the muzzle's pointed.
That's right.
But our eyes are actually somewhere else.
That's right. So we're going to get our gun in position at the hold point, and the eyes are going to leave the gun okay, and go back to the focal point, which is the first place we can visually see the target.
Whether you're starting pre-mounted or not.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Now, if you're in a scenario where the target is coming back from so far back that you can't get your eyes back without removing from the stock, then in that scenario, your focal point is going to be not as far back.
Okay.
Okay? We want to keep it comfortable, and we want to remove as many variables as we can.
Yeah.
Okay? Does that make sense? So if we get in a scenario where the trap's way back here, we don't want to do this. Okay? So now we're relying on us getting back to the gun in the right spot. So we're just going to cut our eyes, and you can see through these glasses, we're going to cut our eyes back to that focal point so that we can see the bird coming. And when it gets to the muzzle, that's when we're going to try to mesh the speed together between the muzzle and the clay target.
Okay. All right, so we're going to set up for this shot. I got my break point there based on the landmark.
Right.
On that line, I'm coming back 50%.
50%, that's right.
And I'm getting my eyes on the front edge of that machine.
Right, there's a silver plate the target comes off of. We're going to have our focal point right off of that.
Pull.
Good. So, Steve, what I want you to think back on after that shot is, did the target sneak up on you?
No.
Did you have to wait on it?
No.
Okay, so that's a perfect scenario. That means your gun was in the right spot.
Okay.
So what I want shooters to recognize is when we make a mistake, we have to know how to fix it, right? And so we're going to make you do it wrong a few times.
Okay.
Recognizing it and fixing it is the biggest thing. So this time we're actually going to come inside of the 50%.
Our hold point.
We're going to come inside of the 50%, and I want you to tell me after the shot what it felt like.
Pull.
Whoa, okay, so tell me what happened.
Well, I hit the bird, but
Right.
I had a lot more gun movement. I had to accelerate a lot more.
Did the target pass you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was chasing from behind.
Okay, good. So what happened was the target passed you, which sends a signal to the brain, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the gun accelerates really fast. When you painted through it, you fired.
Right.
Okay, you're a really good shot, so when you swung through it, you hit it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but it didn't feel right. Do you think you could do it 4 or 5 times in a row?
Maybe on this target, but if they got any more challenging.
If they got any more difficult,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. At some point, we're going to make a mistake.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna do the opposite this time. So I want you to go to the break point. We're going to come halfway back to your halfway mark. Okay, so 25% back this time. All right, ready.
Pull. I was waiting. I was just sitting there going, okay, come on, come
Right.
on. Well, I think naturally you almost want to come back to the bird because your brain's saying, go get that bird.
Okay,
but
good.
But I was patient and I sat, waited on it.
Right.
That wait felt very unnatural to me.
Okay, good. So what happens is we're either going to have negative gun movement. Negative gun movement is when the gun moves the opposite direction of the target. Okay, so we're either going to have negative gun movement like you described, or we're going to have this sensation of wait, poke.
Yeah.
Okay, and poking is never matching the speed of the bird, and so oftentimes when we poke, we miss the line.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Because it's essentially like a spot shot. Here comes the bird. Here comes the bird. Here comes whack. Okay.
Right.
Instead of having this fluid motion with the bird. When you're in a scenario where that happens, or you get that feeling, I want you to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. If it approaches you too fast, take it out just a little bit. If you have to wait on it, go in a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yep. So you're talking about adjusting your hold point.
Adjusting the hold point according to how that first shot felt. There's strategy to picking the break point because we're looking at where do you see it the best and where do you have the best opportunity to break it, you and your shooting ability. We try to pick our break points based on where do you think we can do it the most efficiently multiple times in a row.
And some of that's just going to come through experience, right? Having seen a lot of presentations and just knowing.
That's right. And using solid techniques, which is, we're talking about the meat and potatoes here. We're talking about hold points and break points, and we're gonna talk about what we do in between here in a second.
So far, we've pretty much just been shooting across here.
Right.
Right? But you get on a sporting clay course, you have a lot of different presentations. Are we pretty much going to approach them the same way, bringing our hold point back halfway?
Right.
Or is there a difference?
Well, Steve, that's a great question. I think that's the beauty of sporting clays is it doesn't matter if you're shooting here in Fort Worth, Texas, or up in your place in Minnesota. There's a million variations of clay targets. But what I've tried to do for students and for my own game is I've tried to simplify the sport a little bit, okay? Because it doesn't matter where we go, there's going to be a ton of different presentations. So most of the sporting clays courses, so I'm going to say 75% of the sporting clay courses are going to have more quartering targets than crossers.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to split all the targets in the sporting clay course into 2 categories. We've got our crossers, which we've already worked on, and we've got our quartering targets. Our quartering targets are those angles that are going away from us. Sometimes they're shallow, sometimes they're deep, Sometimes they're incoming, sometimes it's a teal. All the presentations that aren't those 90-degree crossers, we're going to call those quartering targets, okay? And so the way we approach those is a little bit different. They're going to require less gun movement. So again, we're going to choose that really solid break point, and we're going to come back towards the trap on the line 25%. So on our crossers, okay, we're halfway back. On our quartering targets, we're going to come back 25%. What you're going to notice is you're going to get to see the target for 75%. We're going to move with the target for the last 25, and that's where we try to get the gun moving with the bird into that break point.
Okay. Pull. I'm going to say pretty much the same spot above that mesquite
Pretty much
tree.
in the center of the field. We've got to understand here is this target's going away from us. He's getting further away from us, but as the angle closes down, this being a quartered target, us down here, target coming from here, as the angle closes down, the lead, the distance in front of the target that we have to be, actually gets less.
Yeah.
Okay, as the angle gets smaller, the perceived lead is less. Okay,
Right.
and so it's going to require less gun movement, and we're going to try to get that target right in that break point you picked. Come back down the line, 25% on your call.
Pull.
Beautiful.
I mean, I felt like that was easy. That was
Well,
cheating.
you had 25% gun movement, okay,
Right.
so not very much. But what you were able to do is you were able to use that 25% to match the speed and line of the bird.
Yeah.
Okay? And as we progress today and continue to learn the basics of sporting clays, what we just saw in that shot is the most important thing. Okay, we've got to move with the bird, and you just made it easy to do.
I think a lot of people, maybe myself included, would have come back further.
Right?
I'm just going to try that once. You know, so the whole point was there. Let's
Right.
come back to that 50%. Pull. I was not trying to miss. I was trying to hit that target.
Right. So what happened in your scenario is you increased the muzzle speed to a point where you couldn't fire at the right time you shot in front of it.
Yep.
Okay, it's a classic mistake when we have the whole point too far in. Okay, so I think you could do the other exaggerated version that we did with the crossers, and I think you'll get the same feeling you got earlier where you felt like you were poking at the bird. Okay, there's a lot of anticipation when we leave the gun out there.
Pull. Now, these targets aren't very far out, so I was
Right.
able to accomplish that, kind of spot shooting it,
Right.
but it didn't feel nearly as natural. As
Well,
it-
we have to ask ourselves again, like we talked about earlier, is can you do it 5 times in a row?
not on a harder presentation than
Right,
that.
right,
Yeah.
okay. And so let's say we got a really fast one or a really far one or a deep quartering bird. Now, as that quartering bird starts to get out deep, okay, the angle is much larger than what I was describing earlier, like this instead of the shallow angle. Obviously, at that point, it's almost a crosser, right?
Yeah.
It's a quartering bird, but it's almost a crosser. Well, at that point, we start to mesh the two techniques a little bit. So
Okay.
at that point, we're not coming back 25, we're not coming back 50, but we're kind of splitting the difference.
Right.
And that's how I approach those deep quartering birds.
So have I advanced off of this station to a little bit more difficult?
Well, I think, with your skill level, we could probably push these out to 60, 70 yards and maybe have a little fun.
I would like you to push my skill level so then you can actually correct me and coach me, because I'm going to make some mistakes when they get real tough.
The reality is, Steve, you're a really good shot and you come out on this course and shoot a great score most every day. But I think to reach your full potential, these core concepts are what gets us to our full potential, because it creates that consistency which puts X on scorecards. The beauty of sporting clays is every station's a little different. The reason I picked this particular station is we have a target that might be a little bit outside the comfort zone. This target is one of the targets that intimidates people when they see it, okay? And usually people get intimidated by speed and distance, okay?
Yeah.
And this particular target has a little bit of both. So I think if you apply what we've already talked about, you're going to have a good chance at breaking this. But let's give you a couple shots at it, and then we can kind of build off of it with some technique.
All right, let's see one. My break point, I see an orange tractor in the distance. Focal point, it's covered, the machine's covered by a mesquite tree. So I'm gonna get my eyes just in front of that mesquite tree a little ways. And halfway back,
Right?
we'll apply the stance, the weight, hold point, break point, focal point, pull. Oof. Pull.
When you shoot, okay, hit or miss, what I want you to do is I want you to start asking yourself some questions, okay? Because what we're trying to do is build strategy going into the next one. We're trying to hit the next one. So what did that shot feel like? Did you feel connected? Did you feel like you were moving with it? Did you feel like you had the right lead? Tell me a little bit about what the experience was.
Well, the first shot, my thought was my gun speed was not matching target speed.
Okay.
I definitely noticed that.
Right.
The second shot, I felt like I did a better job of that, where I was actually getting closer to match target speed. I think I was just off. I didn't get far enough ahead of it.
Okay.
To be precise, I would say it takes a good amount of lead.
A good amount. That's right. Okay, and that's how I want you to think about it. So it doesn't take none and it doesn't take a ton. It takes some amount of lead, right? And so what we have to do is we have to use technique now. We've already got our hold points, our break points, all the fundamentals that make the shot consistent. Now we have to learn how to approach the targets. We're going to get our hands in position to create and move with the target, matching speed and line. Okay, if we can get ourselves in front of the target and match speed and line, we've got a great chance to break it. At that point, we have to make adjustments to how far in front do we have to be. And everybody sees lead, okay, the perceived distance in front of the target that we have to shoot differently. Some people see it in inches, some people in feet, some people see it in distance, okay? So that's up to the viewer and up to the shooter.
That's why you can't say a specific number.
That's right. And I've worked with enough people to know that it's all about what you see. Let's say the target takes an easy 10 foot, okay? And that this one doesn't, but let's say it takes 10 foot. But when the target is approaching your hands, we're going to try to insert the gun at the 5 to 7 foot mark. Right. At that point, we're going to match speed with the bird, we're going to match the line with the bird, and we're going to get the hands in motion. From there, we're going to rely on the eyes to take over, and the hands to take over, and the instincts to take over to increase the speed of the gun just slightly. When we make that exit, okay, we make that increase in speed is when we're going to fire. Stretch at the end. And let me describe that, okay? So the stretch, and I say stretch different than pull away because pull away just is way too aggressive, okay?
Whipping.
A stretch, think about a rubber band, we're going to apply pressure and stretch. Okay, and so let's say the target's moving 30 miles an hour. Okay, Steve, I want you to insert in there and I want you to move 30 miles an hour. And then when we get the hands moving with the target at 30 miles an hour, then we're going to go 31, 32, 33, fire. And so you can see, the way I describe it, you can see that we're just barely kind of pulling away.
Well, that sounds so easy.
Well, it is, and you're about to see.
Pull.
Beautiful. Great break, first try.
We got to call that out, because you know how video is. We could have done that 100 times.
That was your first try, and I'll confirm that. It was a perfect move. What I saw you do is the hands never went faster or slower than the target.
Yeah.
Okay, until you committed to the shot. And the way I'll describe it is, okay, you inserted it in front of that target at like 4 or 5 foot. Once you got everything moving together, you had this slight increase. Most people are never going to see that because the increase in speed was so slight,
right?
Okay, that all you did was stretch another foot and a half.
Yep.
Okay, and at that point you shot and you hit the target really well. And the whole purpose of really being disciplined about moving the same speed and the same line as the target is, again, we're going back to consistency. We're trying to create a repeatable move. We're trying to start in the right spot, move with the target in a consistent manner so that we can put consistent X's on the scorecard. And at the end of the day, good technique and great fundamentals are what increase scores in sporting clays.
I can tell you if I would approach that bird from behind and started chasing it, I would probably hit it 1 out of 10 to 15 times.
Right, and one day you might hit it 4 times, the next day you might not hit it at all. And that's where our technique and fundamentals really come in to being important, is we're looking for consistency day in and day out, okay?
Well, those things right there, guys, are huge. I've shot a fair amount.
Right.
I've been around a lot of really good shooters. But if I apply this stuff, like if I actually take what you've told me today and if you guys apply it and start to put it into practice,
right,
only good things are going to happen.
It's all about breaking more clay targets and more success in the field. That's what we enjoy to do. So the minimal things that we can apply to our game to just pick up a few more feathers and a few more clay targets, that's what it's all about, right?
Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Put down in the comments one of the things you learned today that you think you could put into practice. And make sure you check out Travis, Shotgun Passions with Travis Mears on YouTube. And then also, if you're ever in the Fort Worth area, Clay Sport Ranch.
Defender Outdoors, Clay Sports Ranch. We're on the west side of Fort Worth.
Remember, whether you're in the field or in life, you're only going to hit those shots you're laser focused on. So live
the target focused life.
Let's go. Out here at Clay Sport Ranch with Travis Mears. Jordan, camera guy Jordan, just watched us film how to shoot sporting clays, some tips on it. It's going to be a great video. Jordan's going to see if he can apply everything he learned from behind the camera and shoot a 50-yard crossing shot, out there. Let's go, Jordan. Oh.
It's close.
Nope.
It was a really good shot. You had the right lead. You're a little over the line.
Gun speed was pretty decent, wasn't it?
Great shot. Yeah.
Woo! Second shot. Boy, y'all better watch this
That
video.
was awesome.
Target Focus Life
Sweet, dude.
channel it's going to be on with Travis Mears. Stay tuned. It's going to be good.
All right.